With the name of Almighty One God, who is most merciful, beneficent, compassionate. My name is Dr. Abu Abdullah, and we are learning the last revelation, Al Quran, which is unchanged since more than 1400 years ago, when it was revealed on Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So we started Surah An-Nisa, which means An-Nisa in Arabic word, in English we can say women. So we, in the last chapter, learned the summary of An-Nisa. Now we will be learning the verses one by one. O mankind, have fear of your Rabb. Rabb means God, the one who created you from a single soul. From that soul, he created its mate, means spouse, and through them, he spread countless men and women. Fear Allah, the one in whose name you demand your rights from one another and the ties of relationship. Surely Allah is watching you very closely. This is the verse number 1. Let's continue. Here Allah is saying about creation of mankind. Next verse, give orphans the property which belongs to them when they are able to handle it themselves, and don't substitute your worthless things for their valuable ones, and don't cheat them of their possession through mixing it up with your own, for this would indeed be a great sin. This is verse number 2, and it tells us about property of the orphan. If you fear that you shall not be able to treat the orphan with fairness, then marry them. Marry other women of your choice, 2, 3, or 4. But if you fear that you will not be able to maintain justice between your wives, then marry only one, or any slave girl you may own. That will be more suitable, so that you may not deviate from the right way. This is verse number 3, and it tells us about restrictions on the number of wives. God has given permission to marry the orphan ladies more than one, but it's the only in Islam, in Quran, that Allah is saying it's better that you have one. Next, give the women, in bracket, whom you marry, their dowries willingly as an obligation. But if they, by their own free will, give up to you a portion of it, then you may enjoy it with pleasure. This is verse 4. And it gives the obligation of dowry. Next, don't entrust your property, which Allah has made a means of support for you, to feeble-minded people. However, provide such people with food and clothing, speak to them nicely, and give them good advice. This is verse number 5. It tells us about don't entrust property to feeble-minded people. Next verse, observe the orphans through testing their abilities until they reach the age of marriage. Then if you find them capable of sound judgment, hand over to them their property or assets, and don't consume it wastefully in hasten, lest they grow up to demand it. If the guardian is well off, he should not take compensation from the orphan's property, but if he is poor, let him take a just and reasonable remuneration. When you hand over their property, to them. Call in some witness, even though Allah is sufficient in taking the accountability. This was verse number 6, and it tells us about train the orphans to manage their property. Next verse. Men will have a share in what their parents and their near relatives leave, and women will have a share in what their parents and their near relatives leave, whether it be small or large. They shall be legally entitled to their shares. If the relatives, orphan or needy, are present at the time of divisions of an inheritance, give them something out of it, and speak to them kind, soft words. Let those in bracket executors and guardians have the same fear in their minds as they would have for their own if they were to leave helpless children behind. They should therefore fear Allah and speak for justice. In fact, those who misappropriate the property of orphans unjustly swallow but fire into their bellies. They will soon be cast into the blazing fire. This is these are the verses from 7 to 10. It tells about the laws of inheritance. These are the laws of inheritance. Next, in regard to inheritance, Allah commands you concerning your children that the share of a boy shall be twice that of a girl. In the case where there are more than two girls, their share will be 2/3 of the estate or inheritance. But if there is only one girl, her share will be 1/2 of the asset. If the deceased left children behind, each of parents shall get 1/6 of the assets. But if the deceased left no children and parents are the only heirs, the mother shall get 1/3 of the estate. But if deceased left brothers or sisters, then the mother will get 1/6 of it. The distribution in all cases shall be after fulfilling the terms of any bequest and the payment of debts. With regard to your parents and your children, you don't know who is more beneficial to you. Therefore, Allah has issued this ordinance. Surely, Allah is the knowledgeable and wise. This is the verse 11, and it signifies prescribed share in inheritance. We continue. You shall inherit 1/2 of your wife's estates if they leave no child. But if they leave behind a child, then you will give 1/4 of their estate. After fulfilling the terms of their last will and the payment of debts, your wives shall inherit 1/4. If you leave no child behind you, but if you leave a child, then they shall get 1/8 of your assets. After fulfilling the terms of your last will and the payment of debts. If a man or woman leaves neither ascendant nor descendants, but has left a brother or a sister, they shall each inherit 1/6. But if they are more than two, then if they are more than two, they shall share 1/3 of the estate. After fulfilling the terms of the last will and the payment of debts, so that no loss is caused to anyone. Thus is this the commandment of Allah, and Allah is knowledgeable and forbearing. This is the verse of 12. Inheritance of spouse property. It tells us about the inheritance of spouse property. My dear friends, this was about verses We learned from 1 to 12, and there were the laws of marrying more than one women, but better if you don't can't do justice, only one is sufficient if you can't do. And then there are the laws of inheritance. Please keep watching my channel, Dr. Abu Abdullah.